Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into quite a dense analysis. It's from Simon Dixon's blog.
Right, a summary of BitcoinHardTalk Ep.92, wasn't it? From August 1st, 2025.
Exactly. And the title itself is, well, it's a statement. BlackRock and Middle East's Grand Plan, the UK and EU's surveillance state. So our mission here is really to try and understand the global shifts the source claims are happening, especially how they might impact financial sovereignty.
Yeah, we'll be looking at how this analysis connects governmental surveillance, the rise of Bitcoin, and some pretty big geopolitical strategies. It's about understanding the world the source describes.
Okay, so let's unpack the first part, this idea of a surveillance state.
Yeah.
The blog claims the UK is moving fast towards this, where your financial life is basically under constant watch. It points to the online safety bill specifically.
Calls it a Trojan horse, I believe.
Yes, exactly. A way, the source alleges, to allow storage of calls, texts, emails, track your location constantly.
And even letting banks flag what they deem unusual transactions, like buying gold or crypto.
Right. The source even warns that encryption on apps, like WhatsApp, might be broken, all framed as necessary protection, of course.
And this is all part of what the source calls a plan for vassalization, sort of making Western nations economically subservient.
That's the argument presented, yeah, that this model could spread.
But then, interestingly, the source pivots to Bitcoin as this counter-narrative for financial freedom.
Right. It's not just Nietzsche anymore, according to the blog. It mentions Ray Dalio suggesting a 15% allocation.
Which is significant coming from him, and Jerome Powell calling it digital gold.
Yeah.
Even within the establishment, there's a shift, or at least a recognition.
And then there's actual adoption. El Salvador, obviously, Bolivia mentioned too.
Plus, corporate adoption keeps growing. Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, now holding, over 628,000 BTC?
A huge number. And new accounting rules, plus companies like PayPal and Stripe getting deeper into stablecoins. It all fuels this narrative of Bitcoin becoming more mainstream.
Even as these surveillance capabilities are apparently increasing, it's presented as these two forces sort of running in parallel.
Okay, but here's where the source, I think, connects dots in a much bigger way. Linking surveillance to economic policy.
Ah, yes. The idea that the UK and EU are beta tests.
Exactly. Beta tests for a global surveillance model. And there's supposedly a playbook.
Let me guess. Crash the economy first.
That's what it says. Crash the economy, grab assets cheap, especially as tax hikes might push people out, then rebuild.
Rebuild with the surveillance state infrastructure in place.
Funded by money printing.
Yeah.
And it even names firms like Palantir, suggesting they'd get contracts for this oversight tech.
Okay, so that's the domestic picture painted by the source, but then it goes wider, much wider, geopolitically.
This is the proof of weapons network part, which sounds intense.
It does. The theory here is that BlackRock is leading this, partnering with Gulf states.
To, quote, decolonize the Middle East. But how?
Not with weapons in the traditional sense, the source claims, but by buying cooperation from the UK and the EU, using financial leverage.
Buying cooperation. Okay, so like investment deals.
Precisely. It alleges GCC nations are essentially buying a free Palestine using diplomacy backed by China and BRICS influence, plus huge investments.
And it gives examples.
Yeah, it mentions Qatar pledging $10 billion to France and over $40 billion to the UK, framed as part of this strategy.
And then there's, the source brings up the Epstein operation.
It does. Very provocatively, it's described as a, quote, key tool in managing this whole transition. To maintain leverage over certain parties is the implication. Again, this is purely the source's claim we're outlining here.
Understood. It's certainly a complex and quite startling web of connections the source is drawing. So given all the surveillance, the geopolitics, what does the source say this means for you, the individual?
Well, it really brings it back to the current financial system. The source concludes the dollar system isn't backed by gold anymore, but by violence and debt. A pretty stark assessment.
So what's the proposed alternative or action?
It suggests a kind of peaceful boycott. Boycott the Fed, it says, by using Bitcoin. Boycott BlackRock by holding assets yourself in self-custody.
And banks.
Boycott banks by striving to be debt-free. And boycott global corporations by spending locally. It's about reclaiming control, essentially.
So the final thought is really about individual choice, choosing a different system.
Exactly. It frames it as a choice for a more peaceful, decentralized monetary system. And it leaves you with the question, could making that choice collectively actually shift these larger power structures? Something to think about.